Welcome everyone. Thank you guys so much for coming. Our names are Stella Lee and Henry Wood. We're both seniors here at Academy, and we're also student alumni board representatives, which means we serve as a student voice for the Academy Alumni Board, and we also coordinate programming like our panel today.
So today we will be interviewing some former alumni who went to SEC schools and talking about their college experiences and understanding what helped them make the choice to go into the SEC. We have some questions prepared that they already have, but if we have time, there will be a Q&A at the end. But please be respectful and wait till the end to ask questions, please. So let's get started. So everybody up at this screen, trust me, I am waving at. Can I have a name, graduation year for Columbus Academy, and the university you attended, and then major, or in any order it doesn't.
I can kick it off.
Oh,
go ahead.
All right. My name's Linkinhoker. I graduated in 2009 from Academy, and I attended Auburn University.
I'm Charlie Stoner. I graduated in 2022 from Academy. I go to University of Florida, and I'm studying systems engineering and computer science.
I'm Mabry Nichols. I graduated from Columbus Academy in 2020, and I go to the University of Kentucky, and I'm majoring in marketing and business administration.
I'm Kevin Curry. I graduated in 2003. I went to Vanderbilt University for undergrad in computer science and math, and then went to University of Virginia for a master's in economics.
Awesome. Thank you guys. This is kind of a loaded question, so I'll break it down for you into two parts after I say it. But thinking back on your college search process, what were you looking for, and how did you know it was the right choice for you? Additionally, considering that all of you attended big out-of-state schools, did distance from home or warmer weather play a role, or was there something special that made it stand out to you? So basically, what were you looking for in a school during your college search? And then was there a specific aspect or factor that played a role in picking your school? Lauren, you can start us off if you'd like.
Okay, I'll go. And I left out my major, but I majored in finance and marketing. So, but yes, so actually I primarily focused on all SEC schools other than Ohio State, since it's in our backyard here. So weather actually did play a piece in my decision. I wanted to go to a warmer climate, but I also knew that I wanted to go to a larger institution. I had been at Academy since pre-K. I was looking for something different. And then also I knew I wanted a good business school, as well as, honestly, I wanted to go to a big football school and have that environment. That was something that played a big piece in my decision. And then the distance from home, was that the second part of the question?
Yeah, was there a specific aspect or factor that played a role in picking your school that maybe didn't, like another school didn't have?
Yes. So Auburn is they call it the Auburn family, and it's very community based. And that is something that I felt immediately from the first tour that I took on campus, whereas some other schools that I looked at didn't necessarily have that feeling. So that's something that I really enjoyed as a student and also as a prospective student.
So yeah, and then Charlie, would you like to go next?
Sure, I'll go ahead. So I applied to 18 schools, and they were all out of state. Majority of them in like the South. There are a few like in the West Coast, but for me, I really want to just go into a new region and be surrounded by new people and like new cultures and everything. And for me, like University of Florida, although it is a state school, like a big state school, and it's got majority, in-state people. What I really liked about it is that since Florida is such a diverse state itself, there's like people from all over. Everybody from like different cities are completely different from one another. So I've made friends from all around Florida that are all completely different, and I've really enjoyed that. And also just like my major and everything, I was a biomedical engineering major, and the biological sciences here at UF are very good. and so is the computer science, which I am now. So it was kind of a good mix of it, just everything. It had like the big SEC school feel, but also like the diversity of everything. And academically, it's a very strong school too. So
Awesome, thank you.
I can go ahead. I was a little bit of the opposite. I looked at all sorts of schools, but I hated the college search process. And UK, I kind of randomly visited with a friend. And from the moment I stepped on campus, what was really prevalent to me was how much of a community there was, and there was a lot of school spirit. And also with such a large state school, there were so many really cool programs within my business school and just on campus in general, a lot of student orgs, a lot of really cool clubs, just a lot of ways to get involved in leadership opportunities. And that's what kind of drew me in the end to Kentucky, because a lot of the other schools I looked at were smaller, a lot smaller. So it was kind of a random choice for me, but it's definitely something that as soon as I stepped on campus, I felt like it was very involved and it was the right place. And then distance from home, was that the other half of that question?
Yes.
Yeah. Most of the schools I applied to were in state or border states to Ohio. And with Kentucky only being 3.5 hours away, I felt that it was close enough to home where if you need to go back, you can very easily do so, but you aren't too close either. You're not right in the backyard like you would be with OSU.
Cool.
That leaves.
And then, yeah, as the old guy on the panel, I hardly remember any of this. What I do remember is trying to get away from home. And I guess the way I'll answer this is more as a reflection on, did the choice help me in my career now that I've been out of school for 15 years. And I would say I would potentially, so I went to Vanderbilt. It was a 6-hour drive, close enough to where I could get home easily. I didn't have to fly. I would probably go further. The world is a big place. Everybody I've encountered since graduating, is from all over. I worked with so many people from around the world. I would have expanded my search to more like when I searched, the only thing I didn't do was apply to anywhere in Ohio. As much as I root for the Buckeyes and all that, I made sure to get out of the state. But I would look abroad. I would look West Coast. I would look much further out. I would go take a semester abroad, things like that, and just do what you can to just go out there and see the world. It's getting smaller and smaller, as things go. So the more opportunity you have to get out there and just kind of see different places and meet different people, the better. And I would start that with the college search.
That is phenomenal advice. So moving on, our next question is, so how did you choose your major? And then if you went through multiple majors, how did you know, when did you stop and think this is the right one? How did you do that?
All right. Well, I'll start this one. We'll go in the reverse order, maybe. I was in the very first computer science class ever offered at Columbus Academy, with a teacher named Mr. Dobbenmeyer, who I know has since left. He moved to Kenya, speaking of traveling the world. But I think he's come back and actually spoke to you all at some point in the recent.
That was last year, yes.
Past, yeah. Anyway, so he got me, when I left his class on the very first day of school, I hated it. I just hated everything about it. But he, through the year, made me realize that computer science was kind of the way to go. And it was by the end of the year, I loved it. So when I went to Vandy, I was pretty set on majoring in computer science, thanks to Mr. Dobbenmeyer. So it's amazing what, a good teacher at the school can do. And then I played around with other things along the way for minors, and I did some math and stuff like that. And then I switched to econ in grad school, because I found that the type of people that I was meeting in computer science were way smarter at it than I was. And I wanted to kind of round out a different side of like quantitative background. But honestly, my major, it didn't really end up mattering. If you're the kind of person who likes math and science, like I think a lot of the panelists here are in that field, you can kind of do whatever and then kind of pivot to what you need. All the jobs I applied to, they look for quantitative background. They didn't care if it's computer science or math or econ or engineering or whatever. So just kind of keep your options open if you're not decided at this point, and you can flex as you go throughout your career.
Jumping off of that, actually, with the flex, I think that for me, I came in with business administration and I ended up adding marketing halfway through my freshman year. But with that being said, a lot of my internships and summer experiences throughout college have been in the finance background. So same as, as Kevin said, like you really can go and jump to a lot of different things with certain majors, especially at least for me in the business world. It's not limited me on applying to jobs or internships because I don't have like a finance major attached. I still had a lot of background in that field without having that major. But for me, it was mostly just I had a great foundation with the UK business. Any of their business majors, you have accounting and finance as like core classes you have to take. So you have to take 3 or 4 of each of those before you even get into marketing and management courses. So for me, it just made sense to continue with marketing and management because I was going to have a foundation in accounting and finance already.
Yeah, so I began as a biomedical engineering student. I did my freshman year with biomedical engineering, and I enjoyed it, but it was just I was just a little concerned that I would get stuck in the health industry and everything like that, and I wasn't completely dead set on that being exactly what I wanted to do. And then this past summer, I did an internship in South Africa, a consulting internship, and I really got into that. And then I began some like programming courses this semester, and I just noticed that like a lot of the stuff that I learned, because I did the computer science courses at Academy with Feinberg and Bolognese, and I just noticed how much I loved like the correlation, or like I realized how much I love programming again, and the problem solving of it. And so that's why I decided again to switch to computer science and systems engineering. And so I again, like you don't have to be dead set on one thing. You know, especially in STEM, there's a lot of like carryover from major to major, especially in like the first 2 years with introductory classes and stuff like that, because you have to do, I mean, everybody's going to take like the chem and physics and all of that. So don't stress too much about being dead set on one thing. And especially now, I feel like schools, even like a big school like an SEC school, they are very forgiving if you want to switch your major or switch your career path.
I was similar to kind of Mabry and Kevin, where I knew I wanted to go into the business school. You can do a lot with a business degree. And we had to also take, I remember, core classes. So we had intro to finance, marketing, and accounting. And I initially really liked finance. I also enjoy numbers. I actually took econ with Mr. Xline, and I remember I really enjoyed that class at Academy. So that also drove me to the business school. And then I think I added marketing. I remember my junior year because they told me I could graduate early. And I said, I want to stay here one more semester. So I added that in. They had a lot of retail classes in the marketing degree at Auburn, which I thought at that point in my life, I wanted to go towards corporate retail. So that's what drew me to marketing.
Awesome, guys. Thank you. Another question. If one of the graduating seniors were to attend your school next year, what advice would you give them? We can start with you, Laura, if you want.
I would say if you attend Auburn University, so Auburn, I think, is about 25,000 undergrad. So I immediately joined Greek Life, which is not for everyone. And I'm not saying that's what you need to do, but what I would do is find something to get involved in to make that community smaller, because then the student population went down significantly. You can find some friends, and then within there, connect, find friends and other things that you might be interested in. So I would say get involved. And then I would say second, also don't play out like the community. So I had the opportunity to volunteer a lot in the Auburn community outside of the university. And it's just really interesting to see, there are other parts outside of the university campus to whatever school you attend.
Actually,
Yeah,
oh, sorry, Charlie.
go ahead, maybe.
Same thing as Laura. I joined Greek life almost immediately, which, like she said, made the large campus feel a lot smaller. But something that I also was really important to me, at least, was, sorry, my cat. Was getting involved in the Lexington community as well, especially coming from out of state. I think it's important to not only be a part of your school's community, but also the city that you're in, your new city. And so I immediately found a couple volunteering opportunities outside of the campus. And that was a great way for me to get involved and really kind of get to know my new home. But I would just say take advantage of all the opportunities, especially with a big SEC school. There's going to be a lot of everything and so many different ways to get involved. So like, don't limit yourself and really just allow yourself to look at a little bit of everything, something you might be interested in just a little bit. I would just recommend to give it a chance and see where it takes you.
Yeah, I mean, one of the major positives with the big SEC schools is that there's just like a multitude of like groups and organizations that you can be a part of. I also been doing Greek life. I'm living in the fraternity house this year. And I rushed last fall, and that was very big on making like just the community around me a little bit smaller and making it easier to kind of immerse myself. But I also did a lot of stuff with student government and joining different groups in engineering. And I was part of like a biomedical engineering group and everything like that. And there's so many different opportunities to really make the community around you smaller. And it's honestly like, it's super easy. Also, one thing I would really recommend is I lived at bigger schools. They often let you, live off campus your first year. I did that my first year. Don't do that. I think it's very important that you live in a dorm or on campus first year. It makes it a lot easier to kind of immerse yourself into the school and make, a ton of new friends and everything.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I lived in a dorm all 4 years, and I thought it was definitely one of the best choices I made while at Vandy. I think everybody here hit on the big points. Mabry, I really like her point about getting off campus, going volunteering somewhere. And in general, I would take the advice that others gave one step further. Even everybody said, try things that you may think you might be interested in. I would go further and say, try things you don't think you're interested in. You can go to it for a day and then just see if I danced the hula, I remember in college. I didn't care about that. And I've never danced since or anything like that. But it's just there's just so many things to do. So the advantage of going to a big school, Big Ten or SEC or anywhere else, you can find a niche of other people who have your same interests, and you can develop new interests that, may last you, much longer in your life. I think the first time I started climbing was in college, and now I do that 3 times a week. But I never tried it before. So you just never know. Just get out there. Keep your grades at some level of sustainable, and then go out and do things, because that's the stuff that you'll really remember and look back at and be glad that you did.
All right, so our final question is, so for the Columbus Academy students who are currently in the college admissions process, what advice would you give them? And was there anything that you did in those years that if you could do it again, you would make sure to never do, or things to always do?
I can.
Yes, I'll start. I think for me, I should also mention I live out in Seattle right now. I quit my job at Amazon a couple years ago. I was in their sustainability team, and now just kind of do some independent consulting in the sustainability space. But I've switched career paths 4 or 5 times already. And so what I did in college maybe set me up for that first job, where I was in investment banking for a couple of years. And I've forgotten the original question, so I'll just riff on this. Apologies. But I think what I would recommend with college and just kind of all the decisions you make is don't over stress it. When I was in I did 5 years in Capital One, working in their credit card division, and there I met people from all these different colleges who were higher levels than me. They might have gone to some tiny podunk school I'd never heard of. They might have gone to Harvard. or, Stanford or wherever. It didn't really matter once we got out there. If you work hard wherever you go and get your, try to get your foot in the door somewhere, you can kind of make connections and bounce around from there. It doesn't matter what school you go to. Find one where you go to the campus and you're like, wow, I could see myself here for 4 years. And go with that. Like, don't worry about the names. If you get a scholarship, something, it's probably worth taking if you can see yourself living there. But if you don't get into your top 3 choices, it's not going to matter. Go tour the schools that you get into and say like, oh man, this one would be a good home for me.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest issues now is just like everybody's kind of just concerned with the name and everything and not really what they're actually looking for. I know for me, my college search experience was very, very stressful because I didn't get into any of my top 5 schools, and I was one of like the last kids to commit for my grade. But not saying that'll happen to you guys. I was just saying, like, coming from somebody who's had like, had a very complex and stressful experience. Like, I didn't even see University of Florida until like a week before I committed to it. I wasn't even on my radar. And I just had applied to it because, Mrs. Fitz told me to. And I was, don't listen, make sure you listen to your advisors. But I was, yeah, I just like, it stuff is going to happen, but you're going to end up like where you really belong. And it's all really about what you do here that matters the most. And then, because, once you move on into your career and everything, that's really not going to matter. It's just going to be like the experiences that you took advantage of outside of school and everything, and, your grades and all of that. But especially the experiences that you took advantage of outside of school and like the connections that you made and everything, that's like 100% the most important thing. Just don't be so concerned with the name, and make sure you're just going to the place that is really a good fit for you and the right match. And yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing to say is really just go with your gut and trust yourself. For me, I am a very logical thinker. I need a lot of pros and cons, and going to UK was probably the only decision I've ever made where I've been like, this just felt right. And I remember I came home and it's like, yeah, like I think I want to go to UK, and it was a very quick decision. So I would just say trust your gut. I love what everyone's saying about don't worry about prestige or name or anything like that. The connections you make and the work you put in at your school is gonna be what gets you to your next opportunity. And yeah, I would just say go with your gut and trust yourself.
Similar, just to echo, I mean, I think I got waitlisted at UGA. I was sold on UGA. It's just like Ohio State, but just in a smaller town. And then I got waitlisted, but Auburn was my second choice really, and then became my number 1. And I think things work out, like Charlie was kind of saying, for a reason. Like, I don't think I would have liked UGA. Auburn was great for me. And then I would just say, like, advice for looking at schools. My experience was a little unique. My mom was in admissions at Ohio State. So that like college search process was drilled into me at like age 5, I feel like. So the one thing that at the time I rolled my eyes at, but she did make me look at like a smaller school. I think I toured Muskingum or something. So just don't discount that. If you think like, hey, I want to go to a big school, obviously focus on those. But, we've got Denison in our backyard here. We've got other small schools. Maybe just drive through campus and see. You never know.
It's really good.
Yeah. I'll add one thing to that as well. So at Amazon, they had a framework of thinking about things that are one-way door decisions and two-way door decisions. And the basic idea is, if it's a one-way door decision, once you make that decision, you can't go back, right? It's like having a kid or something like that. You can't redo that one. But the two-way door decisions, you can go try it and then like turn around and come back, right? So I have a bunch of friends who made a college choice, decided, after a year they didn't like it and switched, right? So it's a two-way door decision. So adding to the like, obviously you want to go somewhere that you'll enjoy. But I know people, actually one person at Vandy who started, I think they went to Dayton for a year and said that wasn't really the fit for them. And they came to Vandy and loved it and weren't behind or anything like that. So, you definitely want to visit and get a good feel for it, but it's a two-way door decision.
Thank you guys so much. I think we're going to open it up to Q&A for those that are in the room. So does anyone have any questions for the panelists? Absolutely no one.
Well, I suppose in that case,
I think we're all out of time, but
Can we make a comment?
yes.
oh, the college counselors are
counselors, you
present
guys did a great job.
and have
Yes.
But yeah, so I would like to thank our panelists and for their time and also for this valuable information session. And thank you guys. I think we can just wrap things up. I think we're good here.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys.